I'm Rick Dunkerley, the project director for Blackfoot Pathways Sculpture in the Wild. The project started with a conversation between Kevin O'Dwyer and I. Kevin and I met at Pratt Fine Arts Center in Seattle, where I was teaching a Damascus steel workshop and he was artist in residence. And we've since become friends. He's visited Lincoln several times, and in one of those visits he mentioned a sculpture park that he had formed in Ireland, which led to the conversation about a sculpture park here, and a year and a half later here we are beginning our sculpture park. We were able to get internationally recognized environmental artists here for the project, and all but one are actually from Europe, and that was my input. I felt like bringing artists in who had not worked in the States before but had reputations worldwide would make this much more unique.
Hi, I'm Kevin O'Dwyer, the Artistic Director of Sculpture in the Wild. The project evolved over the last 18 months and over a number of meetings, and with Rick working on a number of committees, they were able to put together the idea. I came back then about 2 years ago and met with the community and told them the story of sculpture in the parklands in Ireland. And from that time on, we had a very positive reaction. I'm standing on the site of the old Delaney sawmill. It was established in the 1950s and it's closed down in 1970. And one of the industrial artifacts that was left here at that time was the old teepee burner. And at the moment I'm standing right next to the teepee burner in parts. The piece itself, when I came here 2 years ago, I was looking at ideas in which I could actually respond to this environment. And my work is very much to do with the industrial. I love taking the industrial parts and then working it in contemporary art practice. So this particular piece here, the teepee burner, we are moving on site to Sculpture in the Wild Sculpture Symposium. During my visits here, I was talking to some of the elders that have lived here all their lives, and they were talking about when the Delaney mill was going full blast, that when they drove by as children and as young adults, they could see this glowing at nighttime. So what I would like to do is to create an installation piece in which the top of the actual teepee burner will actually glow at night for 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to use photovoltaic cells that will store the energy during the daytime into a battery system, and then at nighttime they will turn on a series of LED lighting that will actually create a dome-like form as a memory piece of what this actual sawmill was like in its early heyday. This is one of those industrial relics that has been disappearing within this landscape over the years because they're no longer used. So this is going into the community, and it can be used by the community as a place, a meeting place, a place in which they can use it for performance inside. It's 45 foot in diameter at the base of it. There's beautiful acoustics in it. So I kind of feel like we have an opportunity to use this for a variety of reasons. And we are also preserving a piece of a landmark piece in their community.
My name is Alan Coonahan. I'm a sculptor from Ireland. I live in County Kilkenny in Ireland, and most of my work as an artist centres around place. And place is very different from landscape. Place is imbued with human existence and memory, and we all have a place that's special for us in the world, and the place I'm trying to make here in Lincoln, I'm trying to make it special with the work of art. I got the idea reading Ivan Doig's memoir, This House of Sky, where he talks about growing up as a young man, young boy really, through into manhood in northern Montana, and how important the sky was to him, how he felt his own youth expanding with the sky. And there's another lovely phrase by the Montana writer Norman MacLean, where he talks about going out at night and walking not under the stars, but among them. And I really liked that idea, so I wanted to make a work among the trees that rose up. And I think the place needs, it's all vertical, it's all these trees going up. So I felt I needed to make a piece that wasn't overwhelmed by that verticality and that rose with them. I'm going to raise it hopefully 30 feet in the air, somewhere between 25 and 30 feet. And then it's going to be on these 4 poles here, which were specially felled for the project. And I'm going to blacken them in waste oil, because the piece is not just representative of kind of the manifest destiny of the man moving west. I wanted it, because it's stainless steel, it doesn't belong in this environment. All the other works that the artists are making relate to nature. Mine relates to nature, but in a different way, because I wanted to show how our technological advancements are less and less rooted to the place that we live on, the earth. I think what's very different about what's happening in Lincoln is that it's a community-based project. Other projects that I've been involved in have received state funding or government funding. And what happens after a time with state funding or government funding is that the people who brought it into being leave their jobs. And then the same care isn't taken of the process. But this is something that's actually rising up, bottom up from the people themselves. It's something they're bringing into being. And we are we're collaborators in that process. You know, I think that there's no star turns in this. We're all doing this together, the volunteers. I think that it gives them a sense of ownership of the work. And what's most important then is that they'll look after it, they'll maintain it, and hopefully they'll try and see it grow. That's what I think will happen.
My name is Jaakko Pernu, and I am from Finland. My main material is this kind of branches. In Finland I use mainly willow. The idea is to make inside the frame that kind of form that you can see through it and see the landscape behind. So it would be kind of landscape portrait. It was by accident that I started to make this kind of outdoor projects. I was once studying in Rotterdam, and there was a 10 days workshop outdoor, and the only material that was free was that kind of branches. And then I went back to Finland and started to make new things with those branches.
My name is Jørgen Rønnow. I'm from Denmark. I'm a sculptor, and I call myself also an environmental sculptor because I just love working with nature, in nature, and my favorite material is wood, trees, everything to do with growth, and my favorite tool is a chainsaw, but I use all kinds of tools to work wood. When I saw these 2 trees, like twin trees that had fallen down in a storm, I was completely thrilled, and I said to Kevin, please put a note on it, it's for me. What am I going to make out of those 2 trees? Well, first of all, I'm making a gateway, a kind of new type of gate where I use the 2 trees that were, in the beginning they were growing together at the bottom, but they were separated from transporting them, and that was good because I needed the opening to be a little bit wider so that you could actually pass through. But it's mainly a visual thing because it's like 2 trees growing, separated, only connected at the ground, and then I want to reconnect them. I find that's a very poetic image that can symbolize quite a few things. The gate is not alone. It has a starting point where you sit down on a chair, but this chair is very special. It's made out of the rest of one of the trunks, and steps are carved in the logs, and you get up the steps and you sit on a chair lifted about 1.5 meters above the ground. I think it's important to get up a little bit out of normal perspective to open your mind to something new, and the gate to me is a passageway from one state, or from one state of mind to another, or from one place to another. If you sit on the chair, look through the gate, you will see something on the other side, which of course I hope will be very interesting. A little village will pop up of the ground, small houses, 30, 40 houses, and they will all be more or less alike, but they will have gold leaf on the roofs. With some experience, I know that I like to engage people physically into the sculpture, sit on the chair, walk through the gate, etc. But also move them by imagining things about the golden town, the golden village. And I hope that it will be a thing of pride for the local community. I hope they will enjoy showing visitors this place.
I was invited by Kevin O'Dwyer, whom I met in Ireland a few years ago. And as this idea grew here in Lincoln, somehow everybody kind of went for it, and they decided that they wanted to get a few people who were known for these kinds of projects and had done them around the world. And Kevin called me and asked me if I'd like to do it. And I have to tell you, the paper pieces, it takes a lot to get me to do one anymore because I've done so many of them and I've seen it so many times, but the West has always been important to me. These mountains around here and down into Wyoming, Colorado, I've spent a lot of time out here hiking. So the opportunity to be here sounded really intriguing, and I said sure. One of the problems with most public art these days is that it's not accessible to a broad enough range of the population. And obviously contemporary museum art or contemporary gallery art is accessible to even fewer people. And I think one of the things that many of us try to do, I can speak for myself, I like what I do to be approachable on as many levels as possible. So a school child who comes through here could have the first same reaction as the 45-year-old sophisticate with the philosophy degree, which is, wow, what is that thing? And they don't even have to know that this is an art park or a sculpture park. That's meaningless. It has no meaning whatsoever. That the initial impression is something that intrigues them, makes them curious to know more. And then of course once they see something that is fantastic to some degree, then they start to think about why it's there and what it might mean and how it relates to the place, and is it art or is it not art, or why is this stack of papers here in the forest? All those questions come up. Kevin and Rick and another artist, Brandon Ballingy, who will be here next spring hopefully, and I were walking around the property here. I was looking for a topographical part that might be of some interest. Everything's very flat. The trees, of course, are of great interest. But we found this gully, little drainage ravine here, and that was really the one outstanding feature that wasn't flat. So we found this, and then we started looking for a stand of trees where I could build a wall of paper or some form that integrated the trees into it, which I've also done before. And we couldn't find enough trees that were close enough together, at which point Rick said, well, I can get you as many lodgepole pines as you want, and we'll just stick them in the ground. And that had never occurred to me and never would have. And so what you're looking at is something that I've never done before and could not have happened had I not come to this particular place. So when I say that it's an ecological approach to art making, I don't just mean that it's ecological because it fits with the birds and the bees. It's ecological because it engages pre-existing systems. And one of the things that you have here in this valley is logging. And everybody knows how to skin the bark off of one of these trees after they know how to cut it down. So taking advantage of that is something that was really intriguing and is enabling us to build this wall the way we are. And I don't, at this stage, know how it's going to end, how tall the paper will be, where the trees will be cut off, if at all. I don't know any of that. But that combination of things, the gully and the trees, was of interest to me, and it took off from there.
This type of symposia is more European based, and it's more about that dialogue and actually the artist coming on site for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This one is a 3-week symposia, and actually dialoguing with both the community and that landscape and creating large-scale works of art. So we are actually creating and working with the community at the same time. The beauty of a symposia like this, in which the artists are living on site within the community over the 3 weeks is that we invite volunteers to come and work with us, and therefore they have ownership of the actual project. So there are skilled labor, unskilled labor, whatever it is. You know, the various artists need different people. Like I would need skilled metal workers when I'm pulling up my TP burner to the final stages.
There's a lot of volunteers involved. I don't even have a handle on the number. And what is really neat is I've been out of the community for several years, and coming back, it's like old home week. I'm seeing on one of the projects day in and day out the same people swinging a hammer. I'm seeing a lot of the artist community in here lending a hand. Some of them can come for short periods of time. Some of them, I think they live here now. After working with these artists from other areas, I'm learning that there is no right and wrong way, and it's how you look at something that is important and the feeling that they get out of it.
I'm Becky Garland. I'm from Lincoln, Montana. I have been born and raised here, and I'm very excited for what's going on in Lincoln right now. I was standing in the sun the other day. It was about 36 degrees out at the park, and I was needing to warm up a little bit, and Kevin O'Dwyer was in the background visiting with a volunteer. There was volunteers over at Yorn's site, volunteers at Stephen's site, and it was quiet. There was birds in the background waking up, and everybody was laughing and talking, and it was such a great experience. I mean, there's just not bad energy over there. The volunteers will come when they're finished. How was your day? I ask them, how's your day? Everybody throws on a big smile, and no one's had a bad experience over there. It's totally exciting.
It's a pretty unique experience, I think. And even the artists said they've never worked on a project that is 100% volunteer like this.
This is week 2 of the symposium. And at this stage, with the TP burner, we've deconstructed it out of the site, the old Delaney sawmill, and we've moved it on to the actual sculpture park site. So this week, what we've managed to do here is to put in the foundation, and we're ready to go. So this Saturday, we'll be have a number of people coming on board to actually raise up all this, what looks like scrap metal here at the moment, and we'll bend it back into shape and bolt it in and create the base.
When we spoke last time, we were in the wood. I was really enjoying it, but I've spent really little time in the wood since then, and I'm paying the price, I suppose, in some ways, of having chosen industrial archaeology as the way to go, because it's really complicated what we're trying to do in the frame, and we're in the shops we're working, we may not be fully equipped to do it, so it's gone much slower than anticipated, because you're kind of one step at a time, and we've taken a great step, and then we've had a little stagger, then we've taken another step, and then we've taken a little stagger, and right now I think we're getting ready to walk a bit more boldly and have the place finished. I would hope have the piece finished within 4 days. We're going to put the poles up. We're taking them out of here because I think the weather's due to break. We're going to bring them over to a shop, and we're going to assemble them to templates so that we lift the tower as one piece, and we put it in, I would think, within an hour or two. And then when the piece is ready, we'll bring it. I don't want anything to touch it because it is really, the surface is so delicate and it's like glass that we just want to lift it up and drop it with the crane onto the tower. And that should be, well, I'm going to hold my breath until then, you know. I hope that's the moment.
In the last week, I've actually managed to have 2 of the 3 components of my work more or less in order, so to speak, not finished, but well, the first piece is the seat, and the seat is actually up now and standing and just need a little bit of adjustment. So it's nearly ready. And then the main piece, the gateway, is up and standing. It's got its top piece on, and it's really beautiful. I'm so glad that it's standing there. And now it's ready for having the writing cut into it. We'd probably fill in some rocks to give it like a mountainous character. So that's quite exciting now that that it's beginning to be ready for the final composition. It's just very much right now the creative period starts. For the next 4 or 5 days, that will be the best thing I know. It's just a thrill every morning to come out here and start working with a chainsaw and have the help I need, and I can stop and think and wonder and what to do next, and have a break, come back. I can work just as I please.
Lots happened since last week. We've had the Lincoln community out here, up to 14 people working at a time. It's been terrific. This is, honestly speaking, probably the best volunteer group I've ever had in 25 years of doing this. And everything that you're looking at has been done gratis. People are just putting their time in, and you get 14 people here and they all know what they're doing. They're laughing, they're having a great time. We've been waiting for more paper. We don't have enough to finish the project, and we're hoping to get more in the next day or so. And in the interim, I've been able to slow down the last couple days and make some decisions about the final configuration of this work. We got the wood cut today. I was up on a forklift earlier this morning with the chainsaw, and we got those all lopped off. And tomorrow afternoon or Saturday morning, we should be back into paper, and then there will be a real push next week to finish it. I said before, I've never seen a community galvanized behind anything like this, and they're doing this with people just volunteering their time and their equipment. It's pretty remarkable.
Part of a symposium like this is the education program. I find it's really important to get the children engaged. Over 350 children will actually have an opportunity to come out here, and the big question is, what is sculpture, meet the artist, and then make a temporary piece themselves.
My name is Sinead O'Dwyer, and I'm coming from Ireland to do the education program for the 2 weeks of the Sculpture Symposium. I think this is a really interesting experience for the children because they maybe wouldn't even know what the sculpture park was about, or they wouldn't really understand what the sculptors were even doing. So now when they come back here and they see the finished sculptures, they can tell their family what it's about, and they'll have seen the process as well. So I think that's the most important thing, because then they're kind of part of it, as opposed to just thinking, oh, these international people came in, they did a load of stuff, and then we have no idea what's going on. So now they kind of feel like they understand it, and they've met the sculptors as well, and they go away with this sort of feeling like they were part of the process.
Ow. There, now we just gotta step. How would you get the beams to hold it without all your sticks falling?
3,000 screws.
How do you get to 100% to know? Schools, not just from Lincoln but elsewhere, have been coming through on a daily basis. And I've been meeting with them at the south end of this piece after they've had a chance to get up to it and get into it. Down in the ditch, it towers over them, and they really like that. And after the third or fourth time the kids came through, I started to get my lines down really good, so I knew where the laughter was and the applause was. And so we've got a good shtick going here when the kids come through.
Whole classes have come through. They play with the ideas I tell them about after they have been around here.
My name's Eric, and we went to the Lincoln Sculpture Park with my 6th grade class, and so we had a project to make a bunch of different sculptures. This is a very crazy sculpture that me and my group made. It's made out of all natural materials we found on the ground here. I think it's a great idea that there's a sculpture park in Lincoln, because if there isn't a sculpture park in Lincoln, then where else would they put it?
For the students who have volunteered and also have come through the education program, it exposes them to art in a way that they wouldn't get normally, and I think it takes some of the intimidation factor away.
So we're in our final day, and we're just finishing off. All the artists are on site, and they're just finishing off their pieces. It's been a pretty intense 3 weeks here. We finally have the teepee burner on site, and it's been great. The last weekend we rebuilt the base section, we carried it over, and during the week we brought in the 2 large pieces here. So this is a work in progress, and the next stage will be actually bringing a crane in here to rebuild it.
So the house is finally up and I'm absolutely delighted with it. Here in the woods it's doing things I hadn't imagined it would, with the reflections of the surrounding trees rippling through it. When the wind moves through the trees here, it's also moving underneath the sheet, and it's causing it to ripple and to billow, which is causing the form to look like it's distorting. But it's not, it's still within its rectangular form, but it looks like it. So it becomes visually an extremely interesting and complex piece. So I'm delighted with that, and I'm really excited watching people come, because the piece is alive from every single angle you look at it. Everywhere you look, it's active, and every day there'll be no moment that it'll ever be the same. So it's the first one I've made, and I think I'll be making a few more of these. So I'm very, very happy with it, and I hope that everybody else here who helped to bring it into being and who will live with it long after we're gone will enjoy it for years as well.
I am now happy because this is the last day and I can finish this work after 1 or 2 hours. So it's done now. I am also very happy for my concept here. It's exactly that I planned in Finland. Been fun here. We had quite a lot of evening happenings, and of course everyone has been working a long day here. And yes, I am very satisfied at the moment.
My name is John Grandy, and I've been working about 25 years in the field of art and nature as a writer, curator, and also poet. What I find really remarkable about this community-generated initiative is that it's a park that grows out of a spirit of community and awareness of nature and the environment, with a fairly integral sense of place. The artists we see here are very much cutting edge. They don't often have commercial galleries representing them, but I consider them masters in their field.
Yesterday it all came together, and it's a wonderful experience to have it end like this or start like this as a finished work.
I would just like to say that I came here with the hope that the organizers would have the people of Lincoln behind this project, and it was incredibly labor intensive. We spent about 2.5 weeks. We had 8, 10, 14 people here on site almost every day working on this project. My arm hurts a lot, and a lot of other arms hurt, but in the end we built the largest paper piece I've ever done. And that's something for us all to be proud of.
It's really hard to look back now and remember when there wasn't anything there, honestly. I didn't grasp the magnitude of the thing. The reaction to it that I'm seeing from people from outside of Lincoln when they come and see it, I really didn't understand how big it is.
As this symposium comes to an end, this is the start, not the end, of an ongoing process here. We will be inviting other artists. We will be on a yearly basis engaging with this community. I think the education program has been a huge success as well. We will have children coming in and engaging with the landscape and with the other artists, and also having the opportunity to be creative within this landscape. It's been a wonderful experience. The community has been on board right through this whole process, and I am really privileged to be part of it.